So as you guys may have saw in the event, and coming to this event itself, we're going to be talking on the profit prediction formula, and in particular, how to go about creating more consistency within the outcomes of our business and really putting ourselves in position to guarantee growth over a stretch of time itself. I wanted to bring in my partner and teammate, Todd Foster, in this one because he is going to share a lot of value on this topic with his vast experience in data and data analytics itself. We've been working on a lot of things behind the scenes lately, one of which is a new book that we've been working on and writing to launch into ads next year. And a big piece of that we are talking on in the book is our profit prediction formula. So for those joining in today, you're going to get a glimpse of what that's all about and how it can be used within your own business itself. To kick things off, I'll let Todd do a brief intro of himself and a brief intro of his background as well in this area, and we'll dive right into things from there.
Thanks, Blake. Gosh, haven't done the old school intro in a while, but for those who don't know me, Todd Foster, I've joined Blake, I guess, a little over a year and a half ago, year and a quarter. Joined the Unleashed CEOs group, started working content and copywriting there. But I guess in terms of the background relative to this conversation, my whole career has been in data and analytics, really, right around 20 years these days. And so, I approach everything I do from that perspective, right or wrong. That's how I do it. Measuring the things that are important to me is something that I've done kind of naturally, and then sort of refined the approach through years in really in the life sciences, pharmaceutical industry, measuring data, doing analytics. And so we're going to kind of take that sort of orientation to today's conversation and how we think about running our business.
I know this is something that you and I really drived on just in terms of our relationship as a whole, both kind of being passionate about measuring elements of our life and of our business as a whole. And I think just to kind of preface too, before we get into things, like for those of you here that feel like you need to be a math genius or a spreadsheet geek to get this formula down and to make it work for your business, you don't. We're going to make things as simple as possible in this presentation, but just wanted to kind of share that here to kick things off.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I would say that continuing about me, one of the things that I struggled with when I jumped into this side of the world, when I actually joined, into an online sales and marketing program, because it was a gap in my career experience. I didn't have really marketing and sales in my background. And it just was something I wanted to understand better. And so at first I tried to put the data guy away and, become a marketing guy, so to speak. And in the long run, of course, it, doesn't make that much sense to totally separate them because they do go hand in hand. But I will say that the marketer in me, more than anything, wants to make this easily accessible to people because it doesn't need to be that complicated. Some of what went into the behind the scenes was a little complicated, but I think we've boiled it down into something pretty simple and super useful, hopefully. So that's where we're going.
In fact, more the opposite. The goal with this entire framework and this process as a whole is really to simplify everything. I think once you can actually understand things, you can realize the power of it doing that. So we have a brief presentation plan for today. Todd and I like to keep things pretty laid back. So we may be just periodically stopping between to have some chatter and talk through some things and provide some further value to you guys as we talk through. So if any questions pop up throughout this presentation today, feel free to let us know in the comments, and I will keep this chat pulled up the entire time. I'm going to recap quickly here as we get in to see if I missed anything to start. Awesome to see everybody on and joining us. Anybody new hopping on, hashtag live below and let us know. Those happen to be joining us in the replay, hashtag replay below and let us know as well. So, Alan, welcome into. Great to see you here. Appreciate the word as well. In today's presentation, we're going to be kind of talking through 4 main points. Number 1, the key elements of the profit prediction formula. Number 2, how to identify the top KPIs in your business. And also kind of really what KPIs are and why they're so powerful. From there, we're going to talk on how to easily track and make decisions based off your KPIs, and ultimately how you can use this to turn strangers into buyers on repeat. So we're going to start here with a little bit of a broad question, but the question is, do you guys know here watching, do you know how to define success? I'm actually going to pass the floor here shortly to Todd for his wisdom to share on this, being that he's been around in this world a little bit longer than I have, and I know he's got some great wisdom to share on this.
Yeah, sure. So, and I think by this world, he means planet Earth, because I think
Yes.
Blake's been in sales and marketing longer than I have actually. But, as Blake mentioned, we're writing a book. And one of the things that came up as we were talking about measuring things is really just, you have to be going somewhere. Just measuring things for the sake of measuring isn't going to be as effective as if you're trying to achieve some kind of destination. So, we can pick a monthly revenue target or, whatever it is, number of conversations, number of offers made. Like you can pick a bunch of KPIs, but in the end, I think, I should say in the beginning, you want to start with a broader definition of success. Like, where are you going with your business? What are you trying to achieve? It doesn't have to be sort of in the broadest scheme of life, but at the same time, when you're building a business, you're usually working towards some kind of targets. And I think it's important to take a step back and just think really about where you're going, and try to set a destination on purpose. And really kind of the couple of things that I came up with on this are, if you don't do it, somebody else will. So if you're looking around and seeing all your friends, so to speak, with 10K months and you're not having them, and that then you compare yourself and you're disappointed or whatever. That's the thing we're kind of trying to avoid. And it's like, don't do this relative to other people. Do this based on some deeper definitions of success. And in the end, I think, we'll save this for a different podcast, right? A different presentation where you talk about how money may not be the end goal to success. It's fine in this context to be working towards revenue targets for your business. I think it's totally appropriate, but do just take a few minutes to step outside of that and see what success looks like. So for me, just taking an example, and in fact, why I ended up working with Blake in the first place, was a 10K month actually seemed achievable to me, somewhere, I don't know, year and a half into what I was doing. But it also seemed like it was going to be at the expense of everything else that I valued: my health, my fitness, my family, perhaps my day job. Like, the only way I could see to accomplish it was to sacrifice a bunch of things that really didn't align with my values. And I think I want everybody coming into this to be comfortable that they actually first know what their values are before they start targeting some sort of monetary success. And that's really where I'm going with this. Part two, briefly, is whatever you set as a goal in the near term will be temporary. If you've ever done sports or, been around the planet as long as I have, you'll see that every accomplishment you achieve sets you up for, brief moments of celebration, probably, sense of accomplishment, that sort of thing. But most likely, if you're here watching this, you're here trying to build your own business, you have that sort of entrepreneurial spirit that says you're going to be looking for another target. You're going to redefine success, and you're going to be looking for another objective. And so, for me, I didn't really always get that. I was always looking for the next thing for the longest time. And the older I get, the more I realize that, the journey is really the joy for me. It's the pursuit of these things that are in alignment with my values that make it worthwhile, make it fun, and ultimately make the achievements valuable to me. So I'll leave it there. Blake, maybe you can chime in, or if there's any chatter on it, I'd love to hear other people's thoughts.
I think you sum it up perfectly. And I think I can honestly be a testament towards the fact that, like, I know going into my online business, the first thing I always wanted to hit was that first 10K a month. And it was the first 100K a year. And I thought once I hit that, I'd be content, I'd be happy, and good to go. But as soon as you hit that milestone, there's always like that entrepreneur within you wants the next thing and the next thing. And I think it's really easy for us to just constantly be focused on the outcome, the money, and the target, without realizing the fact that what we're really setting here is simply just a target. And the more that we can focus on the process to achieving that target, and optimizing that, the more that we can actually put ourselves in position to hit that target itself.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great summary too. I would double down emphasis on the process. I mean, I kind of said the same thing. It's the joy of the pursuit. It's the process. It's the things that you do day to day that get you where you want to go. Those things need to be sort of valuable and valued, and um, you know, fun may be a stretch sometimes, but they need to not suck, or you can't run. There's no reason to build a business that sucks.
Did I just pop out?
Yeah, your screen did.
Bear with me 1 second here as I fix this back on. Go to my webcam. All right, we're back. So I think just to kind of wrap up on this slide too, like I thought Todd also made a great point on the health side of things and the other elements of business that we kind of lose sight of as we're getting in the groove of trying to build our own business, especially for those of you in 9 to 5, while managing an online business. It's very easy to put other things on the back burner as a result of that. I've seen this happen many times with folks that I've seen go from 0 to 100K plus years, but I've also seen them go from being in great shape at 0 to being completely out of shape when they hit 6 figures. And it's like, you can tell they're taking weight off other important pieces of their life because their business is taking over that itself. So I think a really important thing to consider. So the ones that have a measurable outcome of success always go better than the ones that don't. And measuring as you go guarantees progress and growth. And that's really what we want to get into today, and helping you guys zoom into the process, how to measure that process, and how to guarantee that growth so you can disconnect from the target and put yourself in a position to make that happen.
Yeah, and I'll just add quickly, the idea here is whatever achievement you're aiming towards, my experience says if I pay attention to it on a daily or weekly basis, I'm going to make more progress than if I just kind of mindlessly go about it and check back in a month or two later. It's a simple concept, but I couldn't I don't think I could overstate the value of it, at least for me. And really it's kind of like the concept of gamification. If you're watching your progress as it happens, it's compounds on itself and makes it more enjoyable.
Makes you excited to show up more each day. I think it's at first when I started, we're talking on a little bit of the tracking piece here and measuring. We'll get into this more in the presentation, but I know when I first came across this idea of doing this, I was like opposite of Todd. I had less of a data background, more of a marketing and sales background. And to be 100% honest with you, I actually almost freaking failed math class in high school. And I hated math class throughout high school and into college. So for me at first, in kind of trying to cling on to this idea of tracking daily habits, tracking daily elements of my business and KPIs, it felt off. It didn't feel right. And it felt like a chore. But as I kind of broke past and forced myself to do it for a period of days and a period of weeks, I started to realize that like without this, things didn't work. Things didn't flow. And not only that, but I was like not in my rhythm each and every day in terms of actually seeing the growth that I was doing, the inputs that I was putting in, and the pressure that I was putting on that growth itself. We don't measure and we don't track. We don't really know what we're doing each day. And we're kind of just going from one day to the next.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever shared this in this format, but I also didn't like math. I avoided it as much as I could. Eventually I couldn't because I ended up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. At the Air Force Academy, you have to get a Bachelor of Science because of that's all you can do. So there's a bunch of engineering courses, and I was forced to take them, and I pretty much mostly didn't like them. I learned it all after I got out into the business world, actually, and started kind of seeing how important it was. So
I think
there's hope. Yeah, there's hope for people if you're not into it. You can be learned.
Yeah, I think for me, the big disconnection was like algebra equations, and that's like I felt like that stuff just didn't tie into life itself. And if I couldn't see a connection towards life, I wasn't into learning more about it. I think that's where, like, when it comes to this piece we're talking on here today, you can see how this directly correlates to life and business, which in turn just makes it that much more easy to cling on to and adapt to itself. So, quote here: "You can't control what you can't measure." What we're trying to do in this presentation here today is help you guys gain more control over your business. And this first piece we're talking on here is the importance of measuring. So for those of you here that aren't measuring key actions in your business, there's really no way for you to be able to control the outcomes that you want to achieve itself, and put yourself in a position to achieve those consistently. This outlook and this approach to me, as we're kind of talking through this and how I went from hating numbers, hating math, to actually integrating this in my life on a personal level and then into my business, completely transformed the way I look at my business and my view of my business as a whole. And this process really all begins with kind of that first question that we asked this presentation, which comes back to, we start by setting the where, or the vision that we are working towards itself. It all starts with that. When we can start with a vision, we can work backwards from there to connect the dots in terms of what it takes to bring that vision to life. So we work backwards to create the how, the strategy and tactics to achieve the goal and the vision. And the KPIs tell us exactly where we are, where we need to course correct, and ultimately giving us a strategy to allow us to create predictability within our outcomes. Without those KPIs and without that measuring piece, it's very difficult for us to look into our business and make quality decisions on how we can course correct and adjust to make improvements. The problem is, as we've discussed here leading into this presentation itself and early on today, is most online business owners don't know exactly what the right next move is in their business. They don't know what activities are leading to really the sales that they're making. It feels random, it feels out of order, and ultimately they're guessing their way to the outcomes that they want. As a result, you guys saw this if you follow me along with my emails each day, shared this image yesterday to illustrate the fact of going on the roller coaster of highs, feeling like you're on top of the world, things are going the way that you want, and that next month kind of coming back crashing down. And as a result, this is how you can experience those roller coasters of ups, downs, random results, and inconsistent outcomes. Appreciate the comment that just came in too. Can't tell who it is, so if you want to drop in your name in the chat, let me know. That way I know who mentioned that as well. But appreciate the comment coming in. So bad decisions are made because we're just guessing without data. If we're not making decisions driven off data, we simply are just guessing our way to whatever it is that we want to achieve. And that can work. I've said this before. You guys have heard this in a presentation before from mine. I actually just got off an interview with a previous client of mine, Andre Mavaro, who joined our program. And the reason he joined was actually coming off exactly what I mentioned here, where I talked through an interview with another client, talking through his success and how the importance of this measuring piece and how you can guess your way to 5K months, but there's no way that you can guess your way to consistent 10K months. So we can walk our way into maybe a 5K month win, but there's no way that we can repeat that 5K month or repeat that 10K month over and over and over again if we're just guessing our way to doing that. So the promise that we're kind of going into in this presentation here today is to help give you more of a clear picture on the health of your business, how you can use KPIs to do this, how you can leverage this to identify bottlenecks at a glance, know where to course correct, know where to adjust, and ultimately how you can use this to make data-driven decisions that guarantee growth and progression in your business. So I'm going to pass over here, and me and Tyler are going to kind of talk back and forth on some of the key elements of KPIs itself to help give you guys an understanding of what KPIs are, why they're important, and for those of you here that don't really know what KPIs mean, we're going to clarify it here in this next section.
Yeah, sounds good. And I will say, in the interest of, like, this is potentially a dry subject, so we're gonna keep it pretty brief on these elements here. If you have questions, please definitely drop them in the comments. But it's pretty straightforward the way I think about this, and we want to get through these the sort of foundational elements so you can get to the good stuff. But KPI stands for key performance indicators. And as it says here, just reading off the slide, it's numbers that tell you the health of your company, your business, your process. That's how we track progress against our objectives, and the numbers drive what our strategy should be. So, you pick your definition of success, and then try to find key KPIs that can help you steer towards that direction is really the basic process. So add anything if you want, Blake, or we can move to the next.
No, I think that simply covers that piece. Any questions on this or explanation around this, again, feel free to let us know in the comments. We'll keep an eye on those throughout.
Yeah, so on the element side of things, this is stuff that you've probably seen elsewhere online, but the idea here is that your KPIs are specific and measurable. I mean, that's almost by definition what we're talking about here. You want, if you're going to lose weight, it should be 10 pounds or it should be a number. Not if you say I'm going to lose weight, that's going to be much harder to achieve. I mean, you probably can do it, but how how will you know if you're successful and if you're on track if you haven't picked the number? So I do think the weight loss example is usually an easier one to identify sometimes than like an organic marketing business, but specific and measurable. And so that's how you drive towards results that you're after.
Yeah, I think too in that piece too, talking in relation to fitness, like example of this is like if you're trying to lose weight, and like Todd mentioned, if you're saying I want to lose weight, you don't have anything that you're working towards itself. But if you say you want to lose 10 pounds and you know that in order to lose 10 pounds, you need to be in what's called a caloric deficit to get into fitness terms. So we need to be consuming less calories than what we're burning in a day. The only way to know that we're consuming less calories than what we're burning in a day to lose those 10 pounds is if we're tracking what we're eating and making sure that we're hitting those calories consistently. And this is where those KPIs come back to, in this example of fitness, understanding the amount of calories that we're consuming each and every day.
Yeah. Next two are good, easy to understand. They're tracked regularly. I'll say that, again, Blake and I have probably been working on kind of redefining KPIs for his business for a good 12 months at this point. And we're still working on making them easy to understand. We track regularly a lot of stuff, but we're still iterating over, how do we simplify this? How do we make it, intuitive and also actionable? And so, there is some work and thought that goes into this stuff. And, that he and I are hopefully doing the hard work so you don't have to.
Exactly.
And visible. So tracked regularly doesn't do any good if nobody can see them, right? So more or less every week, Blake and I review the business numbers through a dashboard that we've created. And there's various tools. You can do it in a spreadsheet. You can do it a number of ways. Spreadsheets are the easiest, I would say, for what we have going on. Free G sheet is fine for kind of what we're trying to accomplish. But anyway, point being, you got to be able to see them to know how you're doing. They need to be reviewed. So.
Yeah, I think number one on this list is probably, obviously all five of these are super important, but number one, everything kind of falls back from that. And again, if like you want to hit 10K a month in your business, but let's say you're booking calls to convert clients into your program, if you don't know how many calls you need to book to achieve that 10K a month, you have no measure to work towards to actually focus on within your KPIs itself. But if you can know exactly how many calls you need to book, conversations had, other elements that come to life in creating those clients, you have an area of focus that you can put your attention towards that isn't just on the outcome and the end goal.
I'll just take 1 minute before you jump into this too. I see a couple comments about Blake being nice, and since he can't really say much to that without it being weird, I will echo that. Blake is genuinely nice. Everything you see online is real, so you can take heart with that. I think it's great. I love to see those comments because it's for real.
Two ethical dudes. I feel the same way towards you, and I think that's why we build the relationship that we have. So appreciate that. Appreciate the words. Let's talk a little bit on leading versus lagging indicators to go a little bit deeper on this piece we're touching on here. So think of leading indicators as process goals and the front end. Lagging indicators are more performance goals, results, and the back end. So to break this down a little bit more of a simple way, leading indicators drive your lagging indicators itself. Like we talked on before, let's say you are booking calls, and calls equals clients for you. If you're speaking to potential prospects on the phone, and you're presenting offers on the phone, that's your vehicle to creating clients. So the lagging indicator in this would be the revenue from that client itself. The leading indicator would be the call before that. This is where so many people just focus on those lagging indicators without actually focusing on the leading indicators that drive those results itself. So a few more examples of this for leading indicators: number of conversations started, number of new applications submitted, number of qualified calls booked. All of these are leading indicators that are fueling your sales process, fueling the lagging indicators that ultimately equate to sales, revenue, and profit in your business. If me and Tom just sat back every single week and just focused on revenue and profit, we wouldn't get anywhere with the business. Instead, we have to zoom back and focus on what is equaling or what's equating to allowing us to achieve that revenue and profit.
Yeah, and I'll just add too, when I started, I didn't know what else to look for other than the sales I wasn't making. And so I got frustrated. And I think generally speaking, the leading indicators are quite simply the inputs that go into your business. What is the process that you're doing to deliver those results in the end, the lagging indicators. Simple concept. Wasn't so simple to figure out at first, but once you apply it, I think it can be a game changer.
Who else here feels like that within their business? As Todd just mentioned, like you didn't at first, you were saying how you didn't really know what to put the focus on to create those results each day. Anybody else feel that within their business now? Let us know in the comments. Also, let us know in the comments if what we've discussed up until this point is clear and easy to understand, just to make sure if we can talk on anything further, we're more than happy to do so, but I want to make sure that this is easily understandable for everybody here. Super, super important stuff. Okay, looks like no more coming in yet. I'll keep an eye on the comments going forward. So let's talk a little bit more about how to move a stranger, a new person in our world, to a buyer and a raving fan. We just talked a lot on leading and lagging indicators and how those leading indicators make up the lagging, the outcomes, and the results itself. And I think this is one of probably the most overlooked pieces when it comes to those of you here in the beginning stages of working to grow your online business. Those below 10K months tend to kind of look past this stuff and not realize how important this is. And I want to kind of take some time to go a little bit deeper in this and provide some more clarity on this in a variety of ways itself. So you can see first line below at the top, it shows awareness equals lead generation equals sales opportunity equals closed sales. These are stages that we are basically working prospects through the buyer's journey itself to get them to be that stranger at first when they're coming in and just starting to become aware of us, to being that raving fan and buyer when they become a closed sale and a new client in our business itself. So you can kind of see in this particular example, I pulled this chart online. I thought this was a great breakdown of things because it kind of shows the old and the new. And on the left side, you can see how marketing comes into play on the awareness and interest side of things. And then as you kind of get further down the funnel into consideration, intent, and purchase, that was more heavily weighted in the sales process. This is because previous methods, more than often, people would focus less on marketing and more on getting anybody that they could on the phone and trying to push them to take action, do really hard sales tactics. And unfortunately, that strategy doesn't really work now. More than ever now, folks are consuming more free information to start, and we have to be willing to put out that information, put out that content, put out that value, so we can really take those people that are unfamiliar with us and get them to get to know us, get them to trust us, and get them to be open to even hopping on a call to see how we can help them itself. And this is why it's really critical to have a system in place that's constantly moving folks from being cold and being new and being a stranger to being someone that's a raving fan and a buyer in our business. And this is also an area I want to emphasize. I just got done talking on this in the interview with Andre. He asked me the question, Blake, what's your thoughts on folks that are kind of always focusing on bringing new people into their audience and creating opportunities off that versus actually like putting more attention towards your audience itself? The reason he brought this up was because he was doing that exact thing when he joined with us. He had an audience of 2,000 friends. He was getting some results. I think he just came off his first 5K month when he joined us. But the thing with him was he didn't really know where those sales were coming from. And he felt like it was just a big game of him reaching out to as many folks as he could in the cold DMs and then working to get them on the phone, talk with him how he can help, present his offer, and hopefully make a sale. That can be a really exhausting process, especially when we're just focusing on the people that are just new into our world. So he was taking people that were just starting to become aware of him and already trying to get them to become a closed sale and opportunity. It works, but in order to make that work, you have to be putting out a massive amount of volume and touching and chatting with a lot of people to make that happen. It makes the sales process more difficult. It requires you to have to persuade more, explain more, justify more, and it's just more exhausting as a whole. But if we can remind ourselves that at the end of the day, as we're bringing people into our audience, adding friends, these people are cold. They're unfamiliar with us. They don't know us. They don't like us. They don't trust us yet. They have no reason to buy from us. It's in our best interest to not try to make them buy right away. It's more than likely going to lead to some more headaches if we do. Instead, we want to focus on putting them into an ecosystem where we can start to allow them to get to know us, to generate some interest in what we do, to consider working with us, and then actually to help create some intent in working with us. So think about this for those of you here in your business now. If you feel like you're leveraging Facebook Organic and you don't really know where your opportunities are coming from, you feel like maybe you're putting some more weight on new friends, cold DMs, in hopes to find that next opportunity, look into your audience first. I know oftentimes, I think from what I've seen, many folks start to build up an audience and they see engagement start to come in on their posts. they start to see people dropping some hearts and comments, and they feel like those folks are just like supporters and friends, and they feel like they have to find their leads by focusing on new friends and new cold people and getting that opportunity right away. But the reality is the folks that are engaging with your stuff the most are probably the people that trust you more than anybody else in your audience itself. And those are the people that you want to focus on moving out into a conversation, potentially chatting on a call and talking more about how you can help. So as I ramble on here through this section, I know it's a little bit multi-sided, multifaceted as we talk through this. Any questions I can cover on this area here, those of you here watching? To tie this back a little bit further into the exact topic we're discussing too with KPIs, when you look at awareness may seem kind of vague to start, but what is awareness? Awareness is you adding new friends into your audience. Awareness could be you doing interviews in another group to get your name out there. We're really just creating awareness around us, bringing new people in our world to become aware of who we are and what we're all about. This is when they're cold, they're unfamiliar, and when they're new to our world itself. As they get to know us, as they start to consume some of our content, perhaps watch one of our live videos, see what we're all about, see the way that we talk about things, what we care about, what we like, what we don't like, etc. This is where we can start to convert them into being just someone that's new and slightly aware to someone that's trusts us, more aware, that wants to hear more about how we can help. So on the lead generation side of things, areas within this could be such as conversations had, calls offered. Things along those areas are the key performance indicators within lead generation. KPIs within sales opportunities could be you presenting offers in Messenger if you're closing in Messenger, could be you booking calls if you're closing over the phone. The elements that make up creating that sales opportunity. And obviously the end goal is the closed sale. So our goal with this presentation is to get you guys to focus less on this piece of the closed sale and more on what allows this piece to happen on repeat through this. So who here right now that's watching is currently tracking any KPIs in their business? Anybody here? Anybody measuring any actions that they're taking in their business daily?
Yeah, maybe just drop a 1 in the comments so we can see who's doing it, if anyone.
We got 18 of you on. 1 come in, 2. There we go. A few more coming in. Good to see.
Alan's got double exclamations with it.
Love to see it.
Well, 3 out of 18, that's a data point for us.
Yeah, it is.
And seems about right.
Who here is going to start potentially doing this after watching this presentation today? Who here is starting to see the power of doing this that isn't doing it already? Okay, we have nothing to track at this point. 1. Here with us. I'll let a few more comments come in and we can talk through some of these. Eddie, feel free to let us know in the comments too. I know you mentioned you have nothing to track at this point. Do you understand kind of like what your sales process is? Do you have a product that you're selling online? If so, let's say you've made some sales before, let's think about here on this live, what are a few key things that allowed that sale to become possible? What made that sale come to life? This approach is also a super key piece, side note, in getting off the mental roller coaster too. We talked about the roller coaster of revenue before, but Todd's mentioned this many times before as well. If we're always focused on just the outcome, the end goal, we want to hit 10K this month. We focus on that tomorrow, the next day, and how we're short of that, or we're not there yet. it just gets us into a mental rut, and we're constantly feeling up and down in terms of how we feel mentally, all because we're just focused on the money. Focusing on the process shifts that. No worries on not having the sales. We all start there at some point. Hopefully this presentation here today can help change that for you.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll just take a minute on that too. I think we've all been there where we had no sales and didn't know what to track. And I mean, that's what this is all about. We're trying to help people get to that point, because in the end, it is the inputs that lead to those sales. And that's what you want to get your arms around, so that you can ultimately be doing enough of the right things to get you to your sales. So makes perfect sense.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know. So for you and not having sales yet, obviously, like you're it's hard to understand what pieces make up to equate that sale. Obviously, you can listen to people like us who've made sales before. They can show you exactly what's been helpful to us in this. But even just tracking the inputs that you're doing daily now within your business can help you start to see, like, hey, is this stuff helping lead to more opportunities coming in, more interest being generated, and potentially more sales as they do come in down the line. All right, let's talk a little bit on the profit prediction formula.
I'll jump in here a little bit. So as we've sort of talked about, Blake mentioned this earlier too, the objective for us is to make this process as simple as possible. There's a bunch of trial and error that goes that's gone into this, a lot of experience, from Blake being a solo, one-man operation hitting 10K months, to being a multi-person organization in the six figures range. And so like I said, we're always working to refine this, make it as simple as possible. But so that's what we're working on here. I mentioned the book earlier too. I think we've got about 45 pages written on this subject at this point. So what we'll touch on here today will, I think, be relatively brief, but this is wanted to get people some clarity around how we get the thinking that goes into it, and where we're going in terms of inputs versus outputs. So anyway, the profit prediction formula is something that we've come up to take a whole bunch of stuff, as I like to call it, the overwhelming load of stuff, and boil it down into simple steps. We've got 4 variables here. And the way we're thinking of this at this point, and using it in our own business here, is if you can manage this formula, you can pretty well predict what your future revenues are going to look like. Regardless of what all these letters stand for, one of the key points to understand is if you know these variables and they believe that they work for your business, you can actually look at each one and decide if you want to change it, and what change will do for it. So we're not going to go deep into this today. We will be going into it in the virtual mastermind that starts in November 28th, I believe. Blake can say more about that in a minute, but we'll touch on a little bit of what this is. And I guess the key thing to understand from my perspective is if you can get a hold of each of these variables and track them, the sky is the limit. You can address one variable, you can improve the quality of your approach, you can increase the price of your products. There's various things that you can do to make changes for the outcomes that you want. And that's the control we're after, is to know what are the points that we need to address to either grow or, increase the quality or whatever it is. So I'll just say it out loud here. TCR is total conversations required. TMR is target monthly revenue. That is actually supposed to be CPS. Now that I'm looking at it, it's conversations per sale, CPS, divided by average revenue per sale. So we've basically decided, in an organic marketing business at the highest level, the number one thing you need are conversations with people. There's a whole bunch of stuff that flows off of this, but you need conversations in order to be able to make offers. You need to make offers to make your sales. And so that's how we think about this. So target monthly revenue is pretty easy. You get to choose what it is, and then filling in this formula will let you know how hard it is to accomplish. So how many conversations do I need to make one sale is an area where all of us can improve over time. And then the average revenue per sale of your product is fairly static, but as you get more experienced, you can sell more products, different products, increase the value of your product or service, whatever it is. So Blake, I'll let you rescue me here and help me clarify if I need it.
No, yeah, this is a big reason why even in this presentation alone, obviously we can't get through everything today in the hour that we have. And this is why we want to take some time to talk on like the importance and the backstory behind all of this, because without that, you can't have an understanding on how to step into this and use this to your advantage. I think just like what Todd said as a whole, our entire goal with this formula is to simply give you a daily guide to focus on and work towards to create the outcomes that you want. It all starts with the vision and the target, like we discussed early on. But what we see is that everybody's going day to day in their business, not really knowing what they need to do and not really knowing what they're working towards doing itself or what makes up the results that they want. If they simply had a guide to follow and to go towards daily, now they can step in and start focusing on the actions that lead towards that one single target that creates the outcomes that they want. So I think you guys probably have a pretty clear understanding from this presentation alone that we are not advocates for the numbers game approach. We're going to tell you to go and crank out 25 cold DMs today, message 25 cold people, and push them to get in a call and to get on a sales call and invite them to join your program. It's not the way that we do things. What we want to do for those of you here listening in is to help you simplify your entire marketing and sales approach. So you have a clear guide to work towards each and every day. And you also have an understanding of how the strategies and the tactics tie into this to lower that TCR number, the total conversations required. We know that conversations are the vehicle to creating opportunities and to ultimately fueling the sales process. But the focus shouldn't just be on cranking out 100 conversations a day. The goal should be, how can we leverage our strategies and our marketing to decrease that total number of conversations that are required for us to have to create the outcomes that we want. So with all that said, we want to really help you guys simplify this, integrate this into your business, and show you the power of this itself. And I know that those of you here that choose to join us, cling on to this, and actually take action on it will be pleasantly surprised with how much this simplifies your process daily and how big of an impact this has on your growth and your progression as a whole. So later on, as Todd mentioned here this month, we're going to be hosting our first ever live virtual mastermind event with myself, with our coach here, Todd, with us, as well as our 3 other coaches on team. We're going to be going much, much deeper into all of this and what we talked on today, how you can leverage this formula within your business. We're going to be giving you our tracker sheet to pair with it so you can easily integrate it and use it. We're really going to be kind of helping you pull all of the core pieces of the business together into this 5-day event so you can understand how all these dots connect and it doesn't feel like a bunch of random moving parts. So this is going to be opening up officially here next Monday, but those of you here on the live that have tuned in and have watched through the end, if you comment ticket below, we can get you a link to secure your spot privately at a discounted rate of just $47 today. This will be just available to those of you here that are on the live with us through the end. So I'll make note of who's dropped comments up until this point. And if you would like the information on this, just drop a hashtag ticket below. And what we'll do is just reach out to you with the link afterwards, and we can get you the code to secure your discounted spot. This code will be active through Monday next week, and then we'll be opening up full registration at the $97 price for the remaining spots itself. We opened up just yesterday to those that have purchased any products from us before to give them early access to things. And we already have had 5 spots secured. So spots will be filling up quick. And I encourage you, for those here that are interested in finding out more about this, joining us in this event, to join us now while the spots are still available and take advantage of the discount as we have it. And we will take some time now to pause and cover any questions that we can here to end this conversation itself in this live. See a few of you commenting ticket now. We'll be reaching out to you as soon as possible here, post the live with the details on things. So check your inbox on that. But those here that joined as well that have stuck around to the end, who here has gotten value from this? Let us know in the comments. those of you here I never mentioned too in the beginning of the live, we're actually streaming not just in the Unleashed CEOs Facebook group, we're actually in a few other groups of our clients as well, for those that wanted to share the value that we delivered here today. So those of you here that are watching, even from another group of our clients itself, appreciate you hopping on and joining us. We've been able to see the comments come in throughout, but I just wanted to point that out here in the end of the presentation.
Good. A few of those rolling in. So Eddie Lindley Bacon had a nice comment there as well.
Good to hear. Appreciate it.
Informative.
Awesome to hear, guys. All right. Well, appreciate everybody that joined us through the end today. If there's no final questions to cover here from the audience and those joining in, we will wrap up at this point and see you back in the next one here very shortly. Todd, thanks for joining us.
Thanks everyone. Thanks Blake for having me.
Awesome stuff. All right, guys. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and we will chat soon.